Crystal.
Well,
right.
I can't help it. It's if I don't know it, I make it up, and it has to sound good. Otherwise, All right. Well, let's go ahead and get going. My presentation's totally on the software that was just released, and the reason is I think there's still some confusion, and I'm actually reaching out to engineering because what I want to know is, given the new software, I'm trying to find out how it's loaded, because there's some things about it that are a tad different as far as how the machine works with it. So I'm trying to get clarification on if there are any changes and what they are. Okay, the first thing that I did, what the heck is that? Hold on, you got the wrong one, buddy. I sent you the wrong one.
Oh,
no. I didn't. That's an old one.
That's about the toner contamination and stuff.
Yeah, that's an old one, Trent. You need to go back and look at what I sent you recently. Unless you guys want me to go over some old stuff, I'll be happy to.
No.
You're right.
We'll give you one. You can mess up once.
A Southern woman and a Southern
I must have had the last one you sent me on my desktop.
Only if he's recording it.
It will say December on it. And I actually got that to you early, too. You guys don't realize, but I literally gave him my presentation at like 10 minutes to 11.
There you go, Crystal. That's the best way to do it.
Well, those that know me know that's probably not a surprise. But I actually got this to him 2 days ago. That's probably what threw him for a loop.
I bet I put it. No? I don't know where I put it. Let me go back to your email.
You need me to resend it to you?
That was too many emails before now.
I should have it.
Yeah, emails go. You're familiar with them, right? I think you're familiar with emails.
Come on, Outlook.
That's it, Trent. I'm not sending it to you early anymore.
That's what screwed me all up. Whoa.
But, yeah, I've got...
So, how's everybody's day going? Is that storm hitting anybody that's coming?
Oh. That'll be tomorrow.
Trent, you need me to re-email it to you?
No, I just got to save it and then upload it and then...
Okay.
I'm not
Hey,
sure
Crystal.
why.
Yes.
Crystal, this is Eddie in Miami. It's really, really, really cold here. I think it hit like 51 this morning. I'm freezing.
Oh, gosh. I mean, geez. Where I'm at near Virginia Beach, we're supposed to get a whopping 1 inch Thursday and Friday. It's going to shut the city down. It's funny.
Yeah.
Stuff like that shuts us down, but you send a hurricane our way, we're out there partying.
It's a good
all
time.
what you're used to, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Oh, nope. Have you got it uploaded yet, buddy?
Yep, it's coming.
Okay. But, yeah, they'll give us, Xerox will have a voluntary evacuation, and that's when you sit in your front yard and have a cold one. Of course, I mean iced tea. Okay. Woohoo. Okay, so let's get going here. Okay, software, they're changing the way that software is done, and this is for the C-Series, the Alta-Links, I should say. I got to check and see if it's going to be the case with the Connect keys, like on the 78s and things like that. That may not be the case just because those machines are older, but I do need to find out. So what happens is the file size, because they would send out just one version of software, in the file size there was complaints from customers of how long it took to download, the fact that they didn't need all of the information that was included in it as far as like the alt boot files. All they needed was the DLM to upgrade their machine. So what Xerox did was they launched something called a thin version, which is just the DLM to do the upgrade, and then they also have the full version, which is the DLM plus the alt boot files, as far as if you have to do a PWS load or a forced alt boot. Okay? So, when you go to XTips, which is, I know a lot of times that's where you guys are going for software. I wasn't sure if you realized it, but XTips does not contain any software on it. It is more of a pointer to give you a link to where that software is. And the bulk of the time it sends you to Xerox.com if it's a general release. And just to let you know, general releases are the only things that are loaded up on Xerox.com, and it's because they've been thoroughly tested to work with most things that Xerox supports, where the spars are generally written to fix an issue, so they don't go through the testing, because if they did, it would take quite a while for the software to be released. And if, in a case of where you got a customer that needs the software quickly, you don't want to do that. So I wasn't sure if you guys knew that, but XTips is more of a pointer. It doesn't have software loaded to it. The next thing I wanted to go to is on the GSN. When you go there, your software files that are there are generally the alt boot files and also the tool files. You're gonna find that there's not just the DLM there, and it's because the DLM is at Xerox.com, and so it doesn't need to be there. A SPAR won't be here either, unless it's a SPAR that is engineering's recommending it be loaded, like if it fixes a hardware issue, because that's what this GSN library is it's geared towards hardware. It is not geared towards networking. So if you happen to go here, you may not see a SPAR. You may if it addresses a lot of hardware issues, but if it doesn't, you won't see it here. And that's actually a good thing. Otherwise, this whole page would be SPAR after SPAR after SPAR. Any questions so far? Terrific. Okay, so when you go to Xerox.com and you download the software, this is actually what your customer is going to see. They're going to see the AltaLink C87 software zip file, which has the DLM in it. They're going to see a patch, which is check upgrade. And what check upgrade is if you are going from version 100 to version 101, you need to load this pre-upgrade patch. Now, what the networking engineer that I've been working with told me is that there are cases where if you do not preload this file, your software may not upgrade. Now, this file this upgrade patch is only needed if you're going from 100 to 101. It is not needed if you're going from a 101 version to another 101 version. So you also have the EWS load directions, and if your customer wants to use the software upgrade utility, that is also here. The software upgrade utility is the recommended way from engineering for customers to load this software, and the reason is because it automatically loads that check upgrade patch, so they don't have, if they forget and they say the software won't load, and it may be because all they did was sent the DLM to the machine and not the pre-upgrade patch to get the machine to do the upgrade.
Hey,
okay?
Crystal?
Yeah.
Crystal, comment?
Yeah.
That thing you have highlighted, that's the actual software upgrade tool for the customer. The patch is in the zip folder that's right above it.
Okay, what I was told is that that's the patch, but okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and look at that because
the DLM file.
Okay.
I want to make it more confusing here.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for that. And by the way, I sent this presentation to the engineer I'm working with, and he missed that. Okay, so when you're installing system software, I don't know if you guys knew, but in GP9, at the very bottom of the, or at the, as you're going through the directions, what GP9 does is tells you what procedure you're using and what the machine does with that software. So the reason that I highlighted this is you see the normal the USB upgrade is how engineering would like technicians to do the software. And if you notice what the machine does as far as each platform, what it does is it goes through and it checks the software version you currently have, and then it checks for the differences of each platform, and it only upgrades the differences, and that's on an upgrade. Okay, so it's not doing a full boatload when you do an upgrade. It's only looking at what's different, and that is to try to speed up the time frame of the software load, especially for customers. And if you notice on the customer upgrade through Centerware, basically, or the embedded web server, it also does the same thing. I mean, you're loading it the same way. You're just doing it through the USB. They're doing it through the web page, but yours is actually going the same kind of path. Okay? On the next page, what we have is the forced alt boot mode and also the PWS tool. Now, what I would tell you, and I don't know if you guys have ever talked to Ira Feisen. He is on the networking side of the engineering. And what he told me is that when you do a PWS alt boot using the tool, the PWS tool, he says that is the exact same thing as doing a forced reload using USB. He said that tool was only developed to help technicians that were not allowed to bring in thumb drives into secure locations. So again, he's telling me they are the exact same thing. Now, I've gotten some feedback from you guys that said that, no, the PWS tool does it better. I can't get it to load through forced alt boot, but the PWS tool works. And if that's the case, I would like feedback on that. If you could tell me what software version you went from to what you went to, what the machine issue was that got you to do that. For instance, it won't boot. But again, at that point, I'd like to know what your LED lights are showing so I can see if we have a pattern where maybe a certain set of lights aren't working or aren't on, I should say. And then we know that for that condition, the PWS boot seems to be the only thing that works, because I would like to provide feedback to him. But he's telling me you really shouldn't need to do use the tool. It's just an extra step. He said when you would use the tool is if you are doing a load, again, where a customer pretty much doesn't allow you to bring in a thumb drive.
Just a question, Crystal. Didn't we used to do forced alt boots on the 56 series multi-board controllers, which didn't have the USB, which was before?
Yes. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to get the machines to not take so long to load software, trying to make it easier. And I can tell you what's coming, what they're working on doing down the road. They haven't given me a time frame, but it's pretty cool, is they're trying to set it up where, let me back up a second. When you load software to the machine, a full version of software is not only on your hard drive, it's also on your SD card. Because they realized that the SD cards, for what they were using them for, they weren't using anywhere near its capacity. So when you load software, you are literally loading it to the SD card and the hard drive. What the outlook is down the road, which is going to be really sweet when it happens, is that because the version on your SD card, generally isn't used, but your hard drive is what is used because the SD card is just a backup. Excuse me. Then the thinking going forward is that, like if you reboot your machine and it's booting up, that it will concurrently look at the SD card and the hard drive. And if it turns out that your hard drive software in some way, shape, or form is corrupted, that the SD card will fix it. So there, you won't have these issues where your hard drive is giving you a hard time and you have to go out there and load software. So I'm trying to find out now why they decided to load it to the SD card at this point, because it's really not, as far as I can see, it's not really utilized that way right now. But I'm trying to find out why it loads to both platforms. But it does. Okay? So you should not replace, if you go through the software, if you go through the replacement procedure for the SD card, it will tell you not to replace the hard drive and the SD card at the same time. One reason is because the serial number is on the hard drive. It's also on the SD card. And keep in mind what happens with the serial numbers. If you change a component that's serialized, the other components sync with it and write the serial number to it. If you change both of those, then that does not happen, and you have to do some alternate steps to resync the serial number. Any questions on that so far? Okay. The other thing is you never should use an SD card from another machine, because you really can cause a lot of issues, especially if the software version on the SD card is different than the software version on the machine. The serial number is different, whether it's sold or metered, meter count, because meter count is kept on that SD card. That's one of the places. So that's why they recommend not to use a used SD card. Any questions? Because that's pretty much what I wanted to present. But I wanted to add something that Trent kind of brought to my attention, is that they have updated the image quality bulletin, or I should say Eureka tip, about how to troubleshoot the image quality problems. And you will find that in this 101 version of software, they have made some improvements to scan quality and PCL quality. So if you're having an image quality problem, please upgrade to 101 before you do anything else and see if that's made a difference. As far as down the road, are they going to make the software on the 8000 family better? The answer is no. What they are doing is they are taking them as one-offs. So what I have heard the biggest issue has been is color matching. And I think I told you guys before about one of the, I was with Saxon, and we were working on Florida Gulf State University colors, and that was kind of nice to fly down to Florida in the winter. The second one is like Miami Dolphins. It could not reproduce the green. So when you have those where your customer needs color matching, there is no use in really putting it into the portal if you have gone through the Eureka tip. At that point, you do need to escalate to engineering. Any questions? Any other topics?
What about the postcode 5 issue? Is that included in the 101?
Yes. If you open up software, if you do not see a patch loaded or directions to tell you to load that patch, it's included.
Crystal, this is Mike
Yep.
with Stewart of Alabama. The issue with the both the C and B 8000 series, where you copy certain colors, copying only, not printing, but when you copy darker colors scan darker colors to email or what have you, and those actually end up on the other end as a processed black. That's still an issue. They corrected it in the 100 platform with a special, spar. Have you heard anything about that being implemented with this 101 platform?
Well, what we have to do is go to the actual release notes, because if you go to Xtips, what you will see is a whole list of the software, and it will have a checkbox as far as what is included in it from previous versions. Because keep in mind, when they do general releases, which is what this 101 is, it depends on the date of when that fix came out, because the general releases are actually started way before some of these spars that are done. So it's possible that a spar fix is not included in a general release. It just depends on when it came out. Now, I will tell you, I got feedback from Donna Neff that the envelope tray problem has been resolved. It's included in the 101 version. So you don't need to get that patch. That answer your question?
Yes.
And if you need me to send out the what I'm talking about as far as what's included in what software, I'll be happy to do that. Just let me know. But you really just need to go to Xtips, and that's where it's located. Anything else?
Hey, Crystal, this is Roger.
Yes.
Hey, one thing that my analyst team has fed back to me on the new general release, the 27400, is that under email encryption, SMTPS isn't supported anymore, so they're having to downgrade machines back to the SPAR in certain customer environments, to get the email encryption to work properly. The new 101 platform just supports Start TOS, and some customer environments aren't equipped for that.
Why are you upgrading the machine, I would ask first?
Basically because of the new features.
Okay. When you have that situation, and I'm speaking this as a general, not just to the issue that you have, if you have a customer that, let's just say hypothetically, is running an application that needs a particular SPAR in it, and a new version comes out, and let's say that version addresses image quality problems, which is one other thing that your customer has been complaining about. What you have to do in that case is you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard spot. Do you install the new software, which is going to fix the image quality problem but break the other problem, or do you leave it at the first fix and deal with the image quality problem? My answer to you is this. When you load the latest version of software, if it has an issue where it's not doing something a previous version did, then you need to escalate that to engineering, just like what we did for the envelope tray problem, where it was broken, it was working in one version, and then the very next version that came out, it broke it. So you need to get the fixes written to the latest version of software. So if you need the features for the new software, but you need it to work the way the previous software version did, then in that case you need to reach out to engineering, because they're probably going to want logs from the machine, and it's a possibility that they will want them when the machine is at the old version and when it's at the new version, so that they can see what's different and as far as how it works. That help you out?
Well, yeah, that's fine and everything. Like I said, it hasn't been that many machines, but aren't new machines going to start coming in with this general release on it?
Well, it's going to depend on when the machine was built.
Right. So, I mean, obviously, machines that are on our shelf right now still have the, 05702 or something like that. But, I mean, we're getting close to the end of the month, and they're going to possibly get deals and, you know, I don't know, maybe new machines, since it's general release, will probably start showing up with that, and we'll potentially have to downgrade them, you know, right out of the box.
Right, and that's why I want you to escalate that to engineering to get it fixed, because I can tell you, you are not the only one with that issue.
Yeah.
And especially since the newer version of software has some image quality improvements and also has the fix for the tray, with envelope tray, I would go ahead and just escalate that up, because keep in mind, when they test the software, there's no way they can check every single thing, especially when it's involved in networking, because there's no two customers' networks that are the exact same.
Oh, yeah.
So
Right.
you won't be the only one with that issue, I can tell you. So I would go ahead and get your analyst to escalate that through the analyst side, not the hardware side, because what the hardware side's going to do, because it's scanning, is send you to the analyst side.
Right. Yeah, there's that line of delineation there.
Exactly.
All right.
Now,
There's a number that have run into that, so hopefully everybody's doing that.
yes. Are you guys seeing any issues with the C or B 400 series booting up?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious because
this is MRC. I actually had one that wasn't booting up, but a special boot code 2 actually resolved it. But I know one of my counterparts had the same problem, and he put known working parts into it, and it still wouldn't boot up. So I guess it was pointing to the EEPROM.
Okay. Yeah, Brian emailed me about the one that he had taken working parts and put it in the machine, and that's why I was asking, is because I wanted to see if anyone else other than MRC was seeing the issue, because that way I can point the finger at you guys and say you're the problem. But what I need to, and I was being funny there, but I want to make sure that, as you guys know how I work, is that if a problem starts to happen that you're starting to see that you have not seen on a product family before, just let me know about it. I mean, if it turns out you're the only one that's seen that, I'm good with that. But and I'm not talking about where you go to one machine and you see the issue one time. I'm talking about in the sense of just like the C40, I believe they were C405s that weren't booting. I would like to know about that if you're seeing it across the board, because what I want to do is get in front of those and see if something has changed. Like, did we change vendors on the hard drives? Did we change vendors on any of the circuit boards? Different things like that.
Right. I know I had the one that I was able to resolve. He had the one that I think they're going to have to IDR, but he did mention that he was going to be heading off to another 405 that seemed to be doing a similar thing. So I haven't heard anything back on that one, but definitely related to him.
Okay, I'll reach back out to Brian and get information on that. And when you mentioned the EEPROM, just so you guys know, we have no way of getting EEPROMs. And the sad part is, whoever designed them, I don't know that they could have made them stupid little spider legs any thinner and softer than they did. So please let your techs know when they take it off. If you're using a tweaker, there is a tool you can get to take them off, which just pops them straight up. But I'm not sure how many people actually have that tool. I know I never did when I was in the field. So what I did was just took a tweaker and I would just literally stick it under one side and barely pull it up and kind of go to the other side and do the same thing, and just kept going back and forth until I got it to come up. So please tell them to be careful, because if you do break the legs off, your machine's toast. You can't fix it.
Hey, Crystal, this is Charlie with the Northwest Group. I am aware of a C405 that recently came up that wouldn't boot up. Couldn't get it to take firmware or anything. I know the tech ordered the control board on it, but I have not checked back in with him to see what the status is. So I will reach out to him this morning and see if I can't get more details on it, see if that fixed it.
Terrific. That's what I want to hear.
Crystal, this is Brian.
And he's saying the same thing, that we're seeing that not boot up on the 405s on the 400s also.
Whenever the hard drive's installed on the machine, it won't boot back up, and that's the only way I've been able to do is a special boot mode, reformatting the hard drive, initialing the hard drive, and then it'll come back up.
Okay. Could you guys all send me emails, if you don't mind, with as much detail that you can, like if you can tell what version of software it was? I know that's difficult because when you get there, if the machine won't boot, you cannot get the version. But if you possibly can do that, let me know. I'd need the serial number and also go through the boot up wrap and tell me where it fails. Okay?
Crystal, this is Brian. I have a one on our SharePoint log so that you can go look at that serial number and so forth. Software level, I can't tell you because it won't show. The other one that we talked about, I will be going out to after this conference call and see what the status of it really is. The engineers, I did open a log on the first one, and the engineer told me that it's very likely the eMMC, which is a circuit board that does the job of the SD card, and that is not a replaceable part. So if that part fails, the machine is toast.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to get in front of, Brian. If it turns out we've got a bunch of bad eMMC cards, I want to get those, and I want to get them sent back and analyzed because the cost of the machine is just too much for a part that may be defective. And who knows? I mean, if enough machines fail, maybe we can push somebody to at least spare that part or get us some. So terrific information, guys. I mean, really, you're doing a great job. Just keep it coming, and that way we can get in front of these systemic issues.
Got one more question for you, Crystal, before you run off. Actually, two. One, you had mentioned about the trays, and I was just curious, have we seen the spare parts for the cables on the high-cap feeder for the 600s yet? Because I've got one here I've got to get fixed, and I've been looking, and I haven't seen anything where they've released part numbers for those, but I know that you had said that they were going to spare them.
Yeah, Nick, I reached out last week to ask them if there's a status, and I haven't heard back yet, and so I will basically bug them to death now until they do come out with it. But right now, what I will tell you, which I'm sure you guys are already doing, is just slide those to the side. Because once they come out, it's a matter of just fixing them, obviously. But I will find that out.
Yeah, let me know, too. I got about 12 or 13 of them also.
Yeah, well, you guys all will know. Once I find out, I will let all of you know.
Well, once they become aged inventory, those are the first ones they want to grab every time, you know, which is logical.
Yeah. Well, how you can stop it from happening is tell your setup guys before they even fire the machine up to put paper in that tray, because it keeps tension on the cables. Because what's happening is when you put the machine together and you fire it up, the cables are very, very loose, and they wrap around themselves, basically wrap around parts of the tray, and that's what causes them to break. So if you want to prevent it, tell your setup guys, put paper in the tray before they even fire it up.
Okay. And I also have them, before they ship it, open the trays to make sure the trays are in the lowered position so that we're not moving it with paper in a tray. That seems to have helped with the cables on a lot of the products too.
Okay. Just make sure that there's some type of paper in it or a weight or something.
Okay, we've got one more scanner issue.
Yeah, I have seen, I have two scanners right now, the C605s, that we're experiencing out of the box the scanner failures. And I just went to a machine yesterday that had 1,200 copies on it that had a scanner failure, and I ordered a new scanner and put it on, and it worked just fine. But I'm seeing a lot of failures out of the box.
Do you want him to shoot you an email with all the spec or the codes and all that crap too?
Of course. And the one with the scanner, do me a favor, since you've seen it more than once and you happen to have those scanners, call engineering, tell them what's going on since it's right out of the box, and then I'd like you to provide me with that log number. And odds are I'm hoping what they do is ask for you to send the scanner up or get more detail on the scanner as far as why did it fail or can it be fixed. Is it a part of the scanner that is defective, like a motor or sensor or something, and see if we can't get in front of that one. And if anybody else is seeing scanners that are failing right out of the box, I want to know about that stuff, guys. I really do.
Yeah, Crystal, this is Joel. We have both the document feeder and the scanner. Most of the problems with the scanners are on those tall ones with no support on the front operator right-hand side. And then the document feeders, the CIS in it is going bad, so when you try and do a two-sided copy, it'll throw an error.
So when you say there's no support, do you suspect the scanners are bowing?
Yeah, part of it is we've been having a lot of skewing, and for some reason they're ordering them. Well, the finishers and the mailboxes don't really support it anyway, but there's just no support on that right-hand side for the scanner, and we think people are either grabbing it or it's bowing and leaning on it. That's causing a problem.
I would say leaning on it and probably to avoid the stupid feet. I mean, I'm just amazed that was a design, but hey, Joel, send me that information, please. And again, guys, you if you see something once, I don't want to know about it because, I mean, weird stuff happens. But if you start seeing a trend, please let me know. If it's something that I just kind of go, yeah, whatever, I'll just put it in my file that says possible issues. But in that way, if I hear from someone else about it, then I know if we have a systemic issue. All right, well, I'm done. It's all you, Dion.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Trent.
Anytime.
Good. And happy holidays to everyone, and appreciate you taking the time to get on our December PSSM call. So I don't have any problems, so we're going to be pretty fast, right?
Right.
Good deal. We will talk a little bit SharePoint November trends. We're starting at the end of the month to look at what we have, and we send out some reminders if we see quite a few unresolved. So the Mono team, you've seen me on the last go around for November, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Feed rollers, I know I brought it up last month, but got a few questions, mostly from the trainer community, regarding if we have seen this problem. So yes, we've seen it, and we'll talk about it some more again today briefly. Update on the drum ground faults for the AltaLink, 303, 450. We'll talk about all the symptoms that come along with that and what the solution is. And it is very close to being in our hands. So we'll talk about how that and how we know the cut-in and everything else. I also wanted to thank Carolina office. They brought something to my attention, some samples we'll talk about for the C60 drums, the new spiral foam BCR cleaner rolls versus what we used to have with the solid foam. So with that, that's going to be what we talk about. So let's get moving. SharePoint Mono. This was our total escalation for the month of November. Less than a dozen or so. Not a lot. Don't see too much. I definitely want to thank everybody for their participation. Those individuals on the screen, thank you for using our process, and a special thanks for the resolved for the follow-up. So kudos to everyone in that aspect. This was kind of, when I first looked at the Novembers a few weeks back, we had, I didn't see any resolved, and that's when I decided, okay, at the end of the month, I'll send out reminders, and they're simple reminders. But special thanks to Martin out at Zeno, went in and closed all of his, so thank you. And Roger, I think you already had yours closed, but thanks to all. Those that still have unresolved, please do what you can. Trent, I think you guys had 2 of them that were unresolved. I definitely want to make sure we're following up and get some sort of update on those. So, good job. That's a pretty good looking little flow chart there, but not a lot of escalations. So, probably what I'm thinking is we know what the systemic problems are and we're waiting on fixes. But I do not want that to deter you if you have a problem or a large account that you're dealing with any of the systemic issues that we have been battling. Please get it into the SharePoint. We'll make sure that it gets documented and we get the solution at the end. Okay, thank you, Mono Team. I did the same thing for the Color ELP. I've kind of neglected Color ELP. We're pretty stable. I think everything's going well. Excluding some of the supply chain issues, not that I don't realize they're there. The BCR cover is not coming off of the C60 drums. I'm well aware of it. I think the best thing we can do, as the Eureka article says, is let's educate the customers and ourselves. I think in most places we're putting the drum in, so we probably weren't as hit as hard as direct Xerox side because they ship the cartridges to the customers. So. But there was all the Color ELP, a lot of activity in November, quite a few resolved. So thank you, Color ELP team. Continue the great work and appreciate all your participation. Great job in November. Work on some more resolve, though. Makes me happier when I see the resolve. I don't expect 100% resolve, but I would like to at least see periodic updates on ones that, start to age, whether we're working with a hotline, and as we've all seen, you can go in and put an update. It's time-stamped, and you don't have to put the solution, but in there put, called up L2, working, log number, blah, blah, blah. That way we kind of get a good look real time of where you are with that escalation. So great job, Color ELP. Okay, yes, I didn't include light production, did I, Trent? Do you know why? I'll show you in a couple of slides. So this is Color ELP. This is kind of the updates I send out when I'm looking to get solved. It's a real easy look chart. I believe so anyway. Trent, what do you think? Real quickly, I can look at the Color ELP escalations for November and see, wow, Stewart rocked the house. Look at them. 6 escalations, 6 resolves. Great job, Stuart. Now,
sure
well, no, I was waiting for someone to say, if you go back a slide, it looks like, unfortunately, Steve got caught up in, as we all have, where you try to save or adding attachments, and it winds up putting out multiple escalations. So I didn't filter them out, and I probably should have, so that may have skewed the number. But great job all around. Quite a few resolved. Always impressed with with the color, not my Color ELP, with our Color ELP team. So good job, guys. Thanks for participation. If you're not on here and you're dealing with problems, and you say, well, how come our problems aren't on here? How come we're not escalation? Reach out to me. We know who your color specialist, Color ELP specialist is, and let's make sure we get those escalations in and get them resolved and get the solution documented so we can all have it for the future. So, again, great job, Color ELP. Mono, this was no different than the chart I showed you. They had all that, but this is just a high-level look at it. Resolved, great job, ComDoc, ESI, MRC, Zeno, great job. I think the rest of them, let's make sure we get some updates on them. They weren't all B8000 related. But let's continue to follow up and make sure we do everything we can to make sure that our escalations are followed, updated, and if need be, take them to the next step. Okay? So good job, Mono. This is why I didn't have light production, Trent. I had 4 escalations in the month of November. E-Series is rock solid, right? So of those 4, though, we only had 1 that was marked resolved, CCO. So GDP, Stewart, Zeno, let's make sure we take care of the following up again on the D series, and let's make sure if we don't have a plan in place that we get one in place for your unresolved escalation that you have in November. And any other months. I'm only looking at November, but I just, at the end of each month, I'll start to look at it and we'll close the month out and start to get reminders. We'll take it month by month. Increase our database, always a good thing. So, that is it for the SharePoint review. Everybody, round of applause to yourselves. I think we're doing a great job. When we, left WUFU, came to SharePoint, I'm surprised how well we adapted to it. I hear positive things, not only from the analyst side, from the break-fix side. Seems to work well for us all. So let's keep up the good work and make it better in the future. Feed rolls, B8000. I brought this up on the last, in November's meeting. A couple of people, came to me or Crystal and said, hey, are we seeing this? And we are seeing it. The reason is the tray 3-4 feed rollers, they start to disintegrate and degrade. They wind up, that material winds up migrating through the entire left transport assembly, contaminating onto the tar sensor, as you see in the left picture there. Still waiting on the new supplier of the rollers. Again, as I said, they're due out at the end of this month. Let's hope that target still is in play. Once I get word or the bulletin comes out early, I'm hoping I hear before the bulletin comes out, we'll let you know. By going to that new supplier, we anticipate that this problem will be short-lived. So, moving right along. Drum ground of one of the many B8000 print cartridge problems we had was this drum ground problem, 303-450 fault. You can have IQ samples, pretty much jams, it doesn't matter what tray, it usually jams at the fuser right before the inverter. It'll kind of power down. It's basically a discharge, so it's a drum tolerance buildup problem. So what I wanted to let you know is that they have cut in the resolution. The resolution, as you see from the CDMG group, who is just an acronym for the Xerox Domesticated Supply Team. You'll see that they've changed the front cover. They're calling it the H-pad design. So it's a more improved to help take out some of the tolerances of the zero-graphic drive shaft from not making contact with the previous one. You see the current design to the left, then you see the H-pad design to the right. So they've cut this solution in. So they're building those cartridges, as of November 2nd. They started building them. There's the module serial number cut-in date, the DEDE number, 181102. Now, how do you see that? Well, you got to look at the cartridge itself to see that. So what I wanted to do, and the other two below that, they're the actual machine serial numbers that, not only do they cut them in the production line, they're also putting them into the new machines as we receive them. So you'll have this already fixed or solution for the drum ground problem in the new machines. So those are two serial numbers. One is for the B speed, the other is for the C speed. So that's the Y4X serial number that they started putting these new improved cartridges in, and there's the 3AG number. I wanted to go back because, we were struggling and say, okay, they say that potentially they could be in our inventory now today. But I want to thank COTG. We were struggling because we needed one for an account to save an IDR, and I wanted to find one out of one of the stock, and the only way to do it was to open up each one and look at the serial number. So I believe there's always a date code on the outside of the box, and I wanted to confirm that, hey, I need an easier search tool. I believe this will be very short-lived because I think the amount, the the speed that we go through these drums, that you're probably going to get the November inventory. If you haven't already seen it or maybe have it, it'll be very soon. So, you know, once they deplete whatever we had left in the supply chain, then they'll be going to 100% of this improvement. So if you look, and again, thanks to OTG for helping me understand all this. So I got the cartridges that are made in Mexico were the 0707s. October 26th was the build date on that one. I think that's the date you've probably seen on the outside of the box. The DE ones, if we look at the box, what I'm assuming is it'll be a 1102, which, guess what, Trent? That makes sense if you follow that little YYMMDD, that the cut-in serial number looks like November 2nd, 2018. So what I would do if you need one of these immediately, you know, going to your parts department, maybe seeing if we could look at the outside of the boxes. If you can find one with a November date, I think with Trent, ours were July, right? That's what we were seeing in the pallets that you guys had.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that now. The thing that threw me off was all of ours are 0707, which, according to your bulletin
correct.
here, that's a Mexico drum. We were looking for DE drums.
Right.
We've got 0707, 18, 01, 10.
Okay, so actually that would be October 1st, 2018. So it would be that October range there. So, okay. But so I think what we would need to be looking for is probably the November dates if we have pallets of those. If your pallets are all 0707, or even the October 2018, probably I'm looking at November 2nd is when they started producing them on the line. So October, November, not a big, you know, timeline. So potentially we could be seeing these in our inventory tomorrow. Our thoughts were if you were to order a new batch today, and I know we get them in pallets, probably a lot to supply our parts departments and our customers, probably the next order that you make, or if someone were to make an order for one single one, you're probably a good chance you're going to get the DE one, which would be the new improved drum for the drum ground. But I don't think this was systemic. We didn't see a lot of escalations. There are some machines, there are other tolerances, I think, building up in these, and I'm hoping that this solves them, you know, completely. But well, we'll see. So, but be aware that they have cut that in at this point, and you can get the cut-in serial number of the drum to know what you're dealing with. The reason they wanted the serial number of the drum, because their thought process was that when a tech walks in and he's dealing with a problem, he's going to be looking at a drum. The box that drum came out of pretty much won't be around anymore. I get that, but I want to know both. I want to be able to easily identify, and until we get through this, you know, when we're just 100% of these are in our inventory, I wanted to be able to identify in case we needed them, like the one we were looking for, Trent. We can absolutely save an IDR by getting this cartridge to that customer. So check it out.
Do you think that October 1st one will work?
No. I think the October 1st one or any of the October ones would be the same problem. I think we have to go with probably a November 11 date code stamped on the box. Because the dates are stamped on the outside of the box, aren't they, in like a black or some color from what I've seen on other CRUs?
Yeah, I had our parts manager open one and get that specific number off the drum, and then she was just looking through skids, and they were all marked October of some sort.
Yeah. So I would assume that they're all the ones from Mexico, and they wouldn't have the new H-pad design in them yet. So if we're looking, I'd be looking at your skids for the November timeline, and then to really validate it, you know, obviously you can look at the drum serial number and go by this cut in, the DE 108 D00, and anything of that number and above would have the H-pad design in it. So good news is the fix is almost here. And it may already be here in some cases in some of the cores today. So we'll keep searching, and again, I believe it to be a short-lived we're looking at October and November, we'll probably burn through October supplies pretty quick. We probably go through quite a few of those drums in a week's time, Trent, I would assume. Okay. Someone had a question, or yes, okay,
John,
we'll move on.
John, is there any chance that we could just replace that end cap on a faulted drum and get more life out of it?
Who said that? I was looking at the list here. You're right. I asked the same question. No. The reason I was told is not only those end caps are glued on, so you have to do quite a bit of prying to get the end cap off. So I don't know if that would be a solution. I think knowing that, every drum going forth from November and anything built after this is going to have that new H-pad design in it. Because trust me, I looked at that and I'm like, oh, just send me the cap. But and I haven't tried to take one off, but I believe I'm told that they're glued on. And I don't think it's the glue that they're worried about, because you can always glue it back on. I think it's the amount of force that you have to apply to that. There's fears that we may cause some other problem in the drum by excess force in getting the original end cap off. That answer your question?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Okay. Again, thanks to Carolina office. They were working with Drew Gable, and they brought it to my attention. They had a couple of brand new C60s out of the box, and they struggled. And the funny part is you only see this problem set in the magenta slot. You could put this drum in any other slot. You don't see that defect. It's pretty eerie, though, and I'm not saying that we know. If you look at the top picture, that's what we had previous as far as a BCR cleaner roll, the white foam roll. It was a solid roll. Someone made it a DR design change and went to the spiral roll. And Trent, I think you showed me those before, too, and, they didn't believe there was any problems. And today they're not positive that is the problem. But as I look at that sample that I got out of the box from Carolina office, the sample to the right, that looks very eerily like 4-line segmented, sort of follows that spiral foam cleaning roll. Don't you agree? Here's the interesting part, though. What I was hoping to have was that I got that drum from Carolina. I wanted to walk into my Stewart demo room, and I did it yesterday. I put it into my C60 machine there that's been there for a while. I ran the same magenta halftones, and guess what? Anybody? Problem was not there. They were beautiful. Although I do believe that Carolina, because from what I was told, they could not get any of those. They went back and I guess grabbed some older solid foam and put it into their machine. So I don't know what the answer is there, but the reason why I want to tell you this, because it's going to be very hard. So then I went to second and third level, and I said, all right, what are we dealing with here? And they said, well, we've sent up a few drums. The problem that they're dealing with is they can't reproduce the problem. We've heard that before, right? Well, I agree with them, because the drum that I have here, I put it in, and I've done it several tests. My magenta halftones are beautiful on my C60 with their drum in there. Why it's only magenta, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. So if you guys are hearing it from your setup and you're seeing samples like you see here, don't know the answer yet. We need to get information. Let's get it into the SharePoint, just like we did with the BCR covers, not coming off. Get it in the SharePoint. But I think the hardest part's going to be is understanding. I mean, because if I could take this drum and put it in this machine and the same problem happened, guess what? That's a no-brainer. You get that up to somebody, or even somebody as non-intelligent as me, I'll figure it out. But because you put it in and the problem's not there, that's probably the hardest of the scenarios to figure out. But there's something here. Just want you to be aware. There's something going on there. We just don't have the answer. This is kind of early in the stage, but be aware if you're hearing it from your setup, folks. I think that's probably where you can hear it first. I don't know. I didn't see any escalations or anything with samples like this. I want to thank Carolina. A good sample that they gave me. you have something to say?
Yes, I sent a bunch of samples, didn't I?
Joel, did you just me?
Sorry,
I don't know.
On mute.
Samples for this problem, Joel, or you're talking samples for the BCR cover not coming off?
Both.
Both? Okay.
My theory is that on initial setup, that cover's not coming off completely. That's why you're getting the image quality like that, and then when it gets shipped or moved or something like that, and then put in another machine, it's working.
Wait a minute. Now, be careful. This is not the BCR cover not coming off. This defect doesn't look anything like when that. I mean, that would be you're talking gritty copies, washout. This is, and this drum does not have the BCR cover, or it didn't even at install. This pattern that you're seeing here, it's not the same that I've seen on the samples for the BCR cover not coming off. But I apologize, Joel. If you sent me samples that look like this, then I apologize. I must have overlooked them somehow.
Dion, this is Matt from Akron ComDoc. I've kind of seen this before, and I was wondering if anybody had taken a look at the developer sump to see if the machine had run all the developer out of the developer unit when this, if it coincides with that.
So barber pole deletions, you're right on, Matt. I understand. And in this case, there was no developer out of the station. This is a brand new machine. Once they got a different drum, the older style with a solid roll, they did not see this defect. I would think that if we were to deplete it, even putting in a drum is not going to refill that developer. So in this case, no, we didn't associate it with developer depleting like our barber pole or not rally stripes, whatever we call it. Yeah.
Right. I've seen a few of the. I have an account that has a whole bunch of the C70s, and I've seen these new drums do that, and even with the cover for the charge roll taken off. They seem to be short, and the post in the back doesn't make contact correctly with that spring in the back. So I have had quite a few of them, delete all the developer, right after they install one of these drums with the barber pole cleaner.
Good information.
We'll have to watch for that.
That was the start of it, and then as it goes along, it deletes the developer, and then you get the grainy blah 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 issues.
Exactly.
Yeah. No grainy whatsoever with these samples, and truly not a void. Well, no. Well, I have this drum. I ran this thing several occasions on my C60 in the Stewart demo room. No defects, and I ran quite a bit. So I know my dev tank is rock solid, good to go. My halftones are beautiful, and I don't see it causing a problem in my machine. But the problem's there. I don't know if it's a flavor of what we're doing with the BCR. I hope not. It truly looks to me like that pattern right there matches the new style spiral cleaning foam roll. But I don't know. We'll find out. But please escalate them. But I want to keep them separate from the grittiness, the BCR cover type of IQ. To this one, because I don't believe right now that they're related. It's just another problem that we have in the supply chain. And working on and this is for everyone, working on a better way for us to escalate supply problems. It's always been tough, and I tried to do it on your PWS homepage. You have an SPR, what's it called? Help me out, Joel or Trent. Supply problem reporting link. The problem with the link is when you hit it, you go through and you supply all the information, but it asks for an email address. And it only accepts Xerox.com email addresses. Well, that stinks. So I was trying to get around that. And I'm thinking, and I won't talk to this, but go ahead.
Dion, will the new 360 Xerox?
Aha, good job, Joel. That's where I'm thinking. But I didn't want to share that. I know that information came out because you actually have Xerox.com addresses associated with that. You could simply use that address and everything would work, Joel, in my opinion. So maybe by next month, when someone tests this out, to say, can I use that, supply problem reporting? Because they do look at that versus calling the hotline, because there's no credits for these, but we just want to get them fixed. So using that tool could be our avenue to get back to the CDMG group, because that's, again, the folks that develop these domesticated drums, and they're the ones that make the changes. That'd be a good way for us to start to escalate our supply problems. It would be that SP supply problem reporting tool, which is right on the PWS homepage. If someone could take maybe an action item to say, let's go test that and see, I'd be very interested, and you'd help us out a lot. Because once we find out that it works, guess what? We're going to make that our best practice. When we're dealing with supply problems, whether it's the C60 drum, the B8000 drum, even fusers. I mean, we can pretty much put any of our supply or CRUs escalated into there. That way we can get it to the folks and hopefully get to resolution faster. So good catch, Joel. Yes, that was my thought going forward, is we could start to use that with the new access that we have with the Office 365 SharePoint for Xerox. Is everyone, did the trainers share that information? How did you get it, Joel? Because the reason I asked, I talked to a couple other trainers, and they weren't real familiar with it yet. How did that come to you, knowing that? I seen the email that came out, I think, from headquarters.
Yeah, it was sent to all GISX employees from the hub.
Oh, okay, yeah, because that came from Carly. I know her. She now works down at GIS headquarters from the IT side, network side. So, have you tested it, Joel? I mean, just from the Office 365, obviously it works. You can log into the SharePoint because
I tried it. I tried it about an hour or two ago, and it worked. Yeah,
because you know what? That could open up a lot of doors that we don't even realize have been opened with this. This is huge. And the supply problem reporting can just be one small piece of it. So thank you. We went way over time. I won't even do my review, but we hit those 4 topics. Any questions, comments? Anybody want to know where to send my Christmas card?
Nope.
It's not even a Christmas card. All right, Trent. Well, let them have their time back, and happy holidays, everybody. I hope you get everything. Just remember. Never mind. Oh, I'm gonna end it with this, Trent. Just remember, be thankful. If you're not thankful for what you have, you'll never be thankful for what you're about to receive.
Nice. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Christmas. We'll meet again next year.
See ya.
Merry Christmas to you guys, too. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Dion. Thanks, Crystal.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.